tightrope walk for the finance minister as he gets ready to present his make-or-break budget. The red line on fiscal deficit cannot be breached and elections are still right round the corner. Taxing industry when growth is at a decade low may not be the easiest option either. Finance Minister P. Chidambaram clearly has a very tough task ahead, which is why ET Now's think tank discusses and debates an agenda for the FM on this very special show. A very special panel indeed. Swaminathan Iyer, Punita Kumar Sinha, Bimal Jalan and Chetan Iyer. Swami, I want to kickstart this discussion with you. You're a strong votary of the Aam Aadmi versus the rating agencies. Who should Chidambaram's focus be? Should he cater to the very angry, disgruntled Aam Aadmi? Should he cater to the trigger-happy rating agencies or the jittery investors, including India Inc.?
I think Mr. Chidambaram says first and foremost, he has to worry about being re-elected. Within that, he has to worry about the Aam Aadmi. But the Aam Aadmi's biggest single issue right now, I think, is inflation. And if you want to check inflation, actually you have to look at the credit rating agency. There is a complete alignment right now of the interests of the Aam Aadmi and the credit rating agencies.
Fair point indeed. There really is a meeting of the Aam Aadmi's concerns and also the credit rating agencies. But Punita, where are you in this debate and this discourse? What should his agenda be? Who should be his focus constituents? Who should he really be focusing on?
Of course, I think he has to focus on all of the above, as Swami has said. He has to focus on the common man. He has to focus on the credit rating agencies as well. And the investors, I would say, are actually just, they fall from, if you please, the other two. I think the investors will come around as well. So I don't think he needs to worry so much about the investors in the short term.
All right, the investors fall in line if the other two pieces of the pie are really fixed is the word from Punita Kumar Sinha. Bimal Jalan, you've seen many a budget making. Let me ask you, at times like this when we are seeing fiscal concerns on the fore, what should Mr. Chidambaram's focus be? What should his key cornerstone of the budget really be?
The main problem that the budget has to resolve is to instill confidence in both the investor community as well as the consumers, as it were, the middle classes and so on, that the government means business. And the business is really increasing capital investment, providing a climate for investment, ensuring that inflation is under reasonable control.
Dr. Jalan, hold your thoughts there. I'm going to take it back to Swami because the big concern, Swami, really is growth. I mean, everybody has expressed concerns and worries about how India could perhaps be staring at a decade low growth. We could perhaps be growing only between 5 to 5.5% for this fiscal. Can the budget do anything at all to fix growth?
Absolutely no. Growth needs to be fixed. It is all important for the budget, but it will not be as a consequence of budget proposals, but of a wide range of reform measures outside the budget. You have to create a situation where productivity increases, where more investment comes domestically, where more investment comes from outside, where foreign institutional and other finance flows into the country. All this is not going to flow in because of one tax change or some particular incentive that Chidambaram gives in the budget. You need to have reforms across the board. Once that happens, Chidambaram will say, look, this year my budget is in trouble because I had only 5% GDP growth. If I can push it up to 6.5% GDP growth next year, the additional revenue is so huge that I don't have to worry so much about individual tax proposals. The buoyancy of the economy itself will do it.
We all love the word, don't we? Buoyancy of economy. But Chetan Iyer, come into this discussion. We are talking about fixing growth. We are staring perhaps at a decade low growth. One such thing that can really fix growth is kickstarting investments. If investment cycle revives, that still hasn't happened. What should the budget do to kickstart investments?
Well, I think there are a lot of factors which are affecting the investment growth. But broadly, you can classify as two sets of measures that the government can take. And is probably already taking. One is that it's trying to strengthen the institutional capacity to award contracts in a transparent manner wherever it can be done through process of auctioning. And second is that in some cases, like in case of environmental approval or water management approval, you can't auction it, but you need to improve and strengthen the system independently. And therein is where the difficulty lies right now, where we are not yet seeing good progress in terms of approval process moving fast. And I think these are the two sets of measures is what the government needs to revive investment.
All right. It is the environmental clearances that continue to be a big logjam. But the other big pie, I think, in this entire discussion has to be fiscal deficit. Chidambaram himself has said that the red line on fiscal deficit cannot be crossed. Many experts believe that he is a man who will not just rein in the deficit 5.3%, but actually control it for, lower than that. So, Swami, I want to chew your brains. I know you're not a man who likes to discuss numbers. But can Chidambaram realistically control fiscal deficit below 5.3% like he's promised?
His budget figures will most definitely stick to that. How he achieves it, it's another matter. If he simply refuses to sign various checks until March 31st and say these payments will spill over into the next year, then frankly there is no difficulty in keeping the current year's fiscal deficit to 5.3%. He is determined to do so. He will do so. Then the question is, next year, how do you bring it down to 4.8%? Reducing from 5.3 to 4.8% means he has to find another 60,000 crores from somewhere. Where does that 60,000 crores come from? Frankly, most of it will come from the deregulation of oil.
Swami, just hold your thoughts there. I get the point that the buoyancy in the economy will really take care of revenues, and which is why he'll be more comfortable to rein in the deficit 4.8% next fiscal. Dr. Jalan, do you realistically believe that we need to lose sleep over numbers, whether it's 5.3, 5.1 or 5.6?
The fiscal deficit 0.2%, 0.3% is not crucial, as it were, to what you might call investment. But what it is crucial is that government means business. Government has announced that we will keep the fiscal deficit under control, and they should do it. Second, most important thing that the government can do, or rather the budget can do, is to show that capital expenditure in the governmental sector, the expenditure of the government on capital side is actually increasing.
Actually, that's the big concern. A lot of economists like yourselves have actually raised that concern that in its bid to rein in the fiscal deficit, can the government dent growth further because capital expenditure may indeed suffer? Punita, are you losing sleep over that?
The industry needs to be kick-started, and the capex cycle needs to revive. And for that, as Swami mentioned, he needs to do a lot of reforms, and I can address them later on. But, all these reforms are a process. They don't just happen in the budget, but the budget has to reassure the direction and the commitment that this will happen.
All right, budget indeed sets the direction. It is not the end all of all problems as far as the macroeconomy is concerned. Chetan Iyer, come in here. A view from Hong Kong indeed. The fiscal deficit issue, of course, has really been the center and the focus of all debates as far as the Indian economy is concerned. He has to cut expenditure. That's a given to rein in that deficit. But where does he increase revenues from?
Well, at this point of time, I think it is inevitable that the deficit is brought down with expenditure to GDP going down. So in that sense, we think that the finance minister is doing the right thing. Increasing revenue by increasing tax rates is avoidable. It will send a negative incentive to the corporate sector for investment growth. So if you get improvement in tax revenues with buoyancy in the economy, that is fine, but increasing tax rates is something that we would not recommend. So we are pretty much comfortable with the current process of cutting deficit with expenditure.
All right, on that thought, we take a breather. We come back and discuss the very crucial means to rake up revenues as far as the government is concerned, and also the means to control expenditure.